welcome Senator Cory Booker. Last time we talked, you were mayor of, Newark, so it's my first opportunity to congratulate you. Thank you for being with us here on the Madison Show. How are you?
I'm doing great and so happy to be on. Just really appreciate your voice and the opportunity to share with you this morning.
Talk to us about inside the U.S. Senate. How did you find this battle? Was it as contentious and as divided House appears to be going through?
Look, it's definitely a new era of a lot of divisiveness, partisanship, and gridlock down here, and things that used to be a lot easier and happen automatically almost. Look, for 50 years, when unemployment rates were this bad, we've done things like Republican Democrats coming together and extending unemployment insurance. Republican presidents like Bush and Reagan did it, but in this Congress, it's just been a very, very difficult thing to do. We've just finally got that done in the Senate on Monday and sending it over to the House. So that's frustrating. But at the same time, I've been here for about a little over 5 months now, and I'm encouraged because I see opportunities to work together with people on the other side and actually get things done.
How do these opportunities, Senator Booker, how do they manifest themselves?
I was advised when I came in to sit down with Republicans and to go to their offices, invite them out to dinner, and don't view them as Republicans, view them as fellow Americans, learn about who they are and their backgrounds. And that's what I've slowly been doing and creating really solid relationships with some of these men and women that is inspiring to me. So far, we've gotten legislation in the works with Rand Paul to address the criminal industrial complex and the over-incarceration of individuals. I'm working with Tim Scott, a Republican from South Carolina, actually the only other African American in the Senate right now. He and I are going to drop a bill today working on youth apprenticeships to help more young people get employed, but not just employed, but in high-skilled, high-paying jobs. So from a range of Republicans, I've already found ways to work together and to talk with, and I'm very encouraged, frankly, about a career here where I can really do a lot of good by building bridges, not tug-of-wars back and forth.
Well, let me go to the news item you just dropped on us about working with Tim Scott on a bill for apprenticeship. It's got to be more than just personal relationships, and I understand the importance of that. And this being the 50th anniversary of the Civil Rights Bill, that was one of the things they credit Johnson with. He had personal relationships with folk. But there has to be mutual interest. There has to be mutual concern. So obviously there was something going on in South Carolina and the country that caught Tim Scott's attention. You would agree or disagree?
Yeah, look, I think Tim Scott's very aware when we started talking that poverty is still one of the preeminent issues of the United States of America. A nation this great, this strong, this wealthy should not have so many of its kids, upwards of 20%, being born and raised in poverty, which has all kind of deleterious impacts on their lives. And so I do meet people. I sat with Senator Corker, Republican from Tennessee, the other day, who agreed with me that nobody should work a full-time job and still be below the poverty line. And so I agree with you that there are some people down here that are way on the margins in terms of what their views of how to deal with these problems are, where there's not much common ground on some of these issues to work with. But there are a lot of Republicans that I'm encountering that we may have different approaches and different conclusions, but there still is a lot of common ground to at least try to build some legislation that helps people.
If this legislation gets through the House, and again, there were 7 House Republicans that live, once again, as we're talking, in high unemployment regions or districts, and they're in competitive races, but they are putting aside their competitive race, and they've asked the House leadership to vote on the bill. This is sort of what you're talking about. This is where they put the interest of their constituents above their interest of maybe even their reelection. What would this bill mean to the chronically unemployed?
Well, people don't realize this. We have millions of Americans, veterans, single mothers, working folks who've had decades of working who, because of this economy, no fault of their own, have lost their jobs. And the stories I've heard are gut-wrenching. People who have lost their homes as a result of this, couldn't keep up with their mortgage payments, couldn't keep up with their rent, have children that they are having difficulty even meeting their basic needs, all because we as a society, for the first time in 50 years, have said, you know what, we're not going to extend unemployment benefits, even though you've had a long history of working, even though you've been paying into unemployment your entire working life. And so when you hear people about skipping medications, missing car payments, not being able to pay for gas to get to interviews, you know that we're doing nothing but hurting ourselves by not doing this. And you brought up a great point, which is these aren't just Democrats in blue states. We're hearing from Republicans in New Jersey, Republicans in red states, and that's whose voices have got to start to be heard. Because I've heard some Republicans in the House now who are for this, who believe in it, are going to try to put pressure on Boehner, but we need more of them. And so folks have got to let their voices be heard right now, especially because this is now over at the House, and I'm telling you, we can win this for millions of Americans if we let our voices be heard and engage with those Republican congresspeople who should be with us in this.
Senator Booker, how do you respond to those who say extending long-term unemployment or extending unemployment benefits to the long-term unemployed only takes away their incentive to look for work?
Well, look, I've heard this kind of argument for a long time. I've heard it in Newark with people when I was mayor, people talking about how people are lazy and just want to live off public welfare. That is 100% a stereotype of Americans in general. And I've seen how hungry people are to work. I went to countless meeting after countless meeting all through the state of New Jersey, urban areas, suburban areas, rural areas, and had people tell me in roundtables, we don't want unemployment. We want a job. But absent that, we want to be able to at least meet the basic needs of our family while we're looking for a job. And so that is a cruel and crass characterization of the American worker. People out there want jobs, and they're hungry for them, and they're going through extreme hardship because of our failure to act. And I'm hopeful, in the same way that we got Republicans to join us in the Senate, that we can get them enough to join us in the House to get this done.
Then, now, final question. I'll go back to your new legislation with Tim Scott, and if you do talk with Senator Tim Scott, tell him he doesn't have to be afraid of the Madison show. I'll be kind. This is a good piece of legislation. And that is, what should this audience, because we're really about action, what should this audience be telling their senators in support of your legislation? What's the name of the legislation? Should they be calling their senators, asking them to sign on, get on board? What should they be doing?
Well, first and foremost, I just want to give some praise to Tim Scott. Here's a guy that was appointed in this position, is up to be the fifth ever elected African American, to really wants to represent his entire state. And he reached out to me and to work with a Democrat on legislation we agree on. It's called the L.E.A.P Act. And what he and I saw was that many other countries are ahead of us in creating certified apprenticeship programs that actually increase the overall lifetime earnings of young people by hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Okay.
And this is an act that can make a big difference. And so call your senators. Tell them you support the L.E.A.P Act. You support jobs for young people. You support private sector-led initiatives that help us deal with high unemployment.
All right, and I'll give out next hour. I'll give out the Capitol switchboard number for the Senate, in case people don't have their senator's number. But it's the L.E.A.P Act.
Yes.
Got it. And we'll put the word out, and we'll get it up on our Facebook also. We'll do that, too.
Right, and LEAP stands for Leveraging and Energizing America's Apprenticeships.
All right. Thank you. We'll look forward to talking to you again sometime soon.
I really look forward to that. And again, thanks for your voice.
All right.